Senator Cramer.
Well, first of all, I want to make sure that the minute and a half he went over really isn't my time. But, and I think it was a worthwhile minute and a half, Senator. You know, I wasn't going to get into any of this, but I can't resist asking, is humidity along the coast new to climate change, or was there humidity before that had to be considered? I think is a relevant question in the moment.
Listen, I'm not a climate scientist, but I have to imagine it existed for some time.
I think so, but I do marvel though at how green this steel 100-year-old steel bridge is. I've seen a lot of rusty ones, and that one is beautiful. The other thing I have to say, I think all of us on this side of the dais that worked through the current bill and worked closely with your predecessor, Secretary Buttigieg, like him a lot. I mean, I like him a lot. But I will tell you, he liked announcements a lot. He was very good at announcements. There were lots and lots of announcements. He showed up at a lot of the announcements, and we're grateful for all that. But your point that the announcement is not the grant, I think is an important one to continue to remind us of. Those of us who hate bureaucracy also recognize there is some legitimacy to going through the grant application and having signatures. And so I appreciate you raising that point.
Senator, the grant agreement announcing that you got a project is fun.
It
it's
is
a great process. You all celebrate and eat cake
really
and ice cream and you cut ribbon. Yeah, but right. Truly the hard work is getting the grant agreement signed and the money out the door. That is the hard work. And again, so when I say there's 3,200, it's going to take us some time to work through that. But again, I want to can I make one? I know you all want the projects done. I want the projects done. What's great is the president loves infrastructure. He wants big, beautiful roads and bridges. So it's not just you putting pressure on me. It's the president who's going to say, why aren't you getting more money out the door? Get these projects done. And so it's everyone around agrees on infrastructure.
Well, and since we're on that point, Mr. Secretary, and welcome, and it is great to see you. And I was looking down the first several of us served with you in the House, I noticed, and not even, some of them, they're not even here yet. So welcome and congratulations. But along those same lines, remember, one of the things we did put in the current bill is the one federal decision, codifying the one federal decision rule of the first Trump administration, and yet I haven't seen a great application of that for the last 4 years in the permitting of a lot of these projects either. I don't know if you have a comment on that, but
it's a good point, and we have to we do have to streamline the process even further with one federal decision, taking the full meaning of the legislation and the language. In the remaining half of this discussion, at least at this moment, I would point to the emphasis that Chairman Capito put on the formula funding and the history of formula funding. I often like to refer to the fact that you cannot reserve 300 miles in the middle of the North American continent for gravel along Interstate 94, or Durham from North Dakota would never become pasta in New York. And I think it's and by the way, and I strongly support the chairman's emphasis on applying that formula to even more grant programs and discretionary grant programs to the degree that we can do that. I mean, I know the political realities of it as well, but I would just be interested in you coming from the middle of America in a pretty rural district, if you could just elaborate maybe a little bit on that commitment to formula funding in the next bill as well, helping people understand formula funding recognizes that the miles of road are just about as important as how many people are in any particular mile of that road. And I think it's a good point. Many of us come North Dakota, West Virginia, Wisconsin. Senator Lummis knows rural as well.
Better than any of us.
But it's a really important point. And again, making sure our urban centers are important, right? Making sure people move there, but we can't focus on urban centers and forget rural America. And making sure that again, a lot of products come from the places where we live. And they might move from roads to trains to ships, but making sure that there's a complete view of infrastructure is incredibly important. And I would share the view of this committee. I think that we have to have a holistic view of how we build out infrastructure.
Well, and great point. Some of us have our favorite types of transportation as well, but my durum, just so people know, 90% of the durum wheat grown in the United States is grown in North Dakota. And that's what becomes semolina flour, which becomes pasta. And so literally, but it doesn't all go on an interstate either. Some of it, a little bit goes by rail, a little bit gets on a boat every now and then. Anyway, I thank you for your understanding. Just know that'll be a point of emphasis for a lot of us. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.